Welcome to MLSsoccer.com's Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage. I'm your host, Jason Seguini, and we are taking a look at the U.S. national team's 2-0 victory over Azerbaijan. It was the first game since Jurgen Klinsmann had named the 23-man World Cup roster. A lot to chew on coming out of this game, and to do so, we've brought in Jesse Marsh, former U.S. men's national team assistant coach, and of course, MLSsoccer.com senior editor Simon Borg. And guys, let's get right into it. Give me your initial thoughts after you watched the match last night.
Well, I think it's really good for them to go and get a result 2-0 and get the win against Azerbaijan, especially on a night where it's not great elements, very windy, small field, and you could tell they had tired legs. So in the end, there's a lot to work on, but certainly to get the result was a good start.
Biggest takeaway, we're going with the diamond midfield at this World Cup. I mean, it's evident that you're not going to waste one of these test games on a diamond midfield after you've already played it against Mexico. And now I understand some of the decisions that Klinsmann has made. Whether it's the fullbacks that he's left out, whether it's some midfielders, he has personnel that he feels fits this diamond midfield.
Let's get to some of the positives that we've talked about. We're going to get to the diamond midfield in a little bit. And Jesse, set pieces worked pretty well for them in this game.
Yeah, I think that is probably the biggest takeaway from a positive side is the set pieces, the deliveries. Okay, both Graham Zusi and Brad Davis in each half delivered good balls into dangerous spots. Azerbaijan wasn't great defending them, but Wando could have had 2 goals in the first half, and we wound up getting 2 goals in the second half off of set pieces.
Look, set pieces were a positive, but during the run of play, I thought that the U.S. were at their best when the fullbacks were participating in the game. So while I wasn't excited with what Beasley did in the first half, I thought when guys like Timmy Chandler came in on the left and even a DeAndre Yedlin on the right, even Fabian Johnson when he was on the right, I thought he did really well. When they were in the attack, things happened. Now, they weren't tested defensively, so they were allowed to be up there, and Chandler, I think, was at midfield permanently throughout that second half. But I liked the attitude from the fullbacks.
In a game where Azerbaijan's sitting back, one of the ways to get at a team is to now employ your outside backs and get them in line with some dangerous service. And I don't think we saw that enough. I don't think we saw the timing good enough, and I don't think we saw the aggressiveness to really get in line and get some dangerous balls in.
A lot of these guys haven't played together, right? I mean, you have DeAndre Yedlin back there. He hasn't played very many games. Chandler, they haven't played many games. So it's going to take some time to get that chemistry. And along those lines, I want to ask you about, they haven't played that many games with a diamond midfield.
Yeah.
So, Simon, how has it been working so far, and do you think it's the answer moving into the World Cup?
The personnel, I think we finally saw the experiment. Okay, Jermaine Jones is the defensive guy. He's the guy in front of the center backs. And then you have Michael Bradley up top. It wasn't working. The mixture of guys you had in there, to me, it wasn't right. Bedoya, Zusi, Jones, they weren't the right fit for the diamond. I think you need that gatekeeper, that timekeeper, someone who can give you a rhythm to the game. That group did not work.
Simon, why do you think they're playing the diamond in the midfield?
I would assume it's because they want more possession. They want to be able to attack, because I think we've seen many games with the U.S. where they've only relied on the counter, and they want to be proactive. This proactive style that Klinsmann wants, that's what I think. What do you think?
First of all, we need Jermaine Jones to play. I think in his mind at the start of the game, he's thinking that he was going to play like Pirlo, okay? And for me, we don't need him to be the guy that's spraying balls and now playmaking from that spot. We need him to be holding that spot, catching balls, playing simple 1 and 2 touch, more like Busquets or more like Essien would play in that part of the field, where when he has the ball, he's simply starting the attack.
Isn't that Kyle Beckerman, Jesse?
It is partly Kyle, and I think that fits that role better, okay?
Let me give you this real quick while I have you guys on this. We got some fan feedback. I want to remind everyone that you can send us feedback using the hashtag BrazilBound. You can also comment on any of the Brazil Bound videos that you see. If we use your comments in the next show, you can win some cool Castrol swag. We did get this one in last night from Geron RSL on Twitter. He says, Jones versus Beckerman. Jones started. Beckerman has more experience with the diamond midfield. Who starts in Brazil?
I do think Kyle tactically fits the position better, but I think that one of the things that is going to be very important for the national team in the World Cup will be Jermaine Jones' athletic ability to recover the ball and close things down and make it hard on the opponent.
Look, my ideal diamond, what I've observed now for 2 games, would have Kyle Beckerman right there, Bradley in front of him at the point, and then on either side, it's Davis on the left, and I would start with Jermaine Jones on the right. And my next option there on the right might be mixed disc.
That sounds like a pretty tight diamond, and we've kind of discussed the different ways you can play the diamond midfield. But if you play a tight diamond midfield, Jesse, you mentioned that too much space on the wings, especially in this group in the World Cup, could hurt you.
One of the challenges when you play a diamond in the midfield is essentially, instead of having 4 flat to deal with spaces, you more have 3 with 1 ahead. You have to now pull the 3 midfielders in tight enough so that there aren't easy gaps for the other team to play through and now start to slice passes into forwards behind your midfield line. But you can't pull them in so tight that you leave the wings open. Think of the group. Think of defending Cristiano Ronaldo and not having enough support of that outside midfielder or him being close enough to come over and help deal with that moment, and now putting Cristiano on one-on-one situations. That's a recipe for disaster.
All right, I want to get to a couple more. This is one topic, a couple more comments that came in from fans. This one comes from @ShieldsAllOver, and they say, Wondolowski looked good, Altidore looked lost, I believe Brazil bound. Similar topic, Megan says, with Wando having more chances than Josie, and if Clint's injury isn't serious, any thoughts on starting Wando with Clint over Josie?
Josie is my first option up front. I think ultimately his strength, his skill on the ball, his ability to make runs, I think those are ahead of Chris Wondolowski. So he's my first guy, and I just think what was missing was that forward complement. I don't think Wando and Josie go well together because Josie needs someone else to go into midfield and hold up the ball and combine. And Josie can do some of that, but I think he's at his best when he can now make runs into the channels diagonally behind the back line. That's where, to me, he's most dangerous. He couldn't do it because he had to come and help the midfield get the game going, and that's not the best use of Josie.
I want to ask you one last question. We'll talk about the next U.S. game a little bit more as it gets closer, but what's one thing after watching this game that you're going to be looking towards in the next game? What's one thing you're going to key on in that match?
To me, personnel selection. And look, we haven't even gotten into the center backs and what pairing that works, what works best there, but to me, it's the players that you feel, going on what Jesse just said, that feel that you can execute those roles. So I would like to see Beckerman start. I think if you're going to go with the diamond, it's time to give Beckerman a chance with Jones and Bradley in that diamond, but throw Beckerman in there, see how exposed you are against a team like Turkey, with Beckerman being the guy who doesn't have the recovery speed, the ability that Jones has, but I think it's a test you need to see for yourself.
Yeah, I would agree with that and also build on it and say personnel, formation, okay? How now it's all fitting together, and now see a team on the field that looks more like one unit instead of 11 different guys doing their own thing. And you can almost look at, on the set pieces, there seemed to be clarity as to what the roles were and what each guy his responsibility was on each play. But in the run of play, it looked more like 11 different guys kind of looking around going, where are you going? Where should I be? What should we be doing here to now make sure that we're all on the same page? So that's more than anything, that's what I'd like to see, is more of a cohesive group.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us here on another edition of Brazil Bound, presented by Castrol GTX High Mileage. And don't forget, you can comment in the comment section below. We'll send you some cool Castrol World Cup swag, including potentially this guy. We'll be back with another Brazil Bound on Friday. Stay tuned to MLSsoccer.com for all your World Cup coverage.